let's do another sync up. All right, on go again. 3, 2, 1, clap.
Yeah, I did it.
Okay, cool beans. Awesome.
Oh,
All right,
I didn't
welcome
do
back,
it.
everyone. Oh my fucking god! I'm glad you're not one of my allies in the Hunger Games, Jess, because we would be dead. Fuck. All right, let's do it again. 3, 2, 1, clap.
I did it.
I can even see from the sound wave how like half-hearted my second clap was compared to the first. So tired.
Followed by a sigh.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I just want to say this again, just because it was so funny. Like, Rachel, who anyone listening to the podcast probably knows, she's been on a few episodes and does our social media stuff. Rachel has the propagnosia, I think it's called, face blindness, and so she was talking to us a little while ago about how she like identifies each of her friends because she can't like tell the faces apart. And she's like, "Well, I know Nirav because he sighs a lot."
What? Why are you sighing? What's so sighful in your life?
Well, I think it's because she's in my Dungeons and Dragons group that I DM for, so I think I'm sighing about every 4 seconds, depending on what my players are doing.
That
I've
is
never
so
noticed
valid.
you sigh a lot. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for it when I come and visit.
I think you guys are not as exasperating as some of my other friends, and I'll just leave it at that.
I think that's a fun game for all the listeners. They could do a sigh count.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It
sure.
counts going.
And then it also counts every time we mention Psy of Gangnam Style fame. So make sure to add that in there. All right, guys, episode 2 of The Hunger Games. So yeah, we were talking a little bit about the differences between the movie and the book, and how the violence is depicted a little bit differently and is kind of a little bit watered down for the movie. One thing I was going to add to that, though, is that like I saw that Suzanne Collins had a discussion with Lionsgate about the rating of the movie, and they were like, we have to keep this PG-13 or we can't make it. Like, we just can't fund it. And so that was kind of, I think, her concession of like, all right, I will make a PG-13 version of the story I've written. You know what I mean?
This also like very much highlights the thing with children's books and how they can get away with so much more than they can films, because and also video games, because I remember around that time my mom was being a bit iffy about me playing games like Oblivion and stuff because of the blood splatters, and she had no idea what some of the stuff I was reading like around that time.
That's actually kind of funny because I saw that there was a specific let me see what country it was, but there was one country where all the blood splatter had to be removed from the Hunger Games movie in order to be shown, which is... Wait, it was you. It was fucking you guys.
Oh, is it us?
Wait,
Yeah.
no way in the British version there was no blood splatter.
Yeah, they had to cut or substitute 7 seconds of film by digitally removing blood splashes.
Now that I think about it, I don't. When you said blood splatter, I was like, I don't really remember it being that bloody.
No, same here.
Now,
We've been
the uncut
Mandela
version-
affected.
We have.
yeah, the Blu-ray version in the UK did have the uncut version, so maybe that's more what you're remembering. But it was just the theatrical one had the blood splashes removed.
Would that be the DVD one as well? Because I never had it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I think so. That might be why.
Yeah, because I've only the first movie I have rewatched a few times actually, but I vividly remember seeing it like twice in cinema, and yeah, I can remember being very unbloody, and that's why I guess.
Yeah, so one interesting thing I also saw was that the movie was delayed indefinitely in Vietnam, and then was set to be released a year later, but then the Vietnamese National Film Board banned the movie forever and did not release the following movies in Vietnam because they decided it was too violent.
It is such a this whole phenomenon is so interesting to me. I mean, specifically with like the blood splatter thing, it just kind of highlights how sort of meaningless and how sort of like performative a lot of these sense things are, because the kid's still dead, you know. Like unless you're CGIing it in so they open their eyes and start like, you know, wheezing and just holding their leg in pain afterwards. Like, this is still fundamentally a story about a fascist government which is making children fight to the death for entertainment and for punishment for what their great grandparents did. But like, blood is where we draw the line. you know? This ties in nicely to what we were saying on the last episode about the inception of the Hunger Games, and how Suzanne Collins was seeing Iraq War coverage and reality TV shows, because, and this is something I've talked about before in a lot of different like contexts. Our generation, like my sort of age group, like born in the late 90s or mid 90s as well, our first memories are probably of the Iraq War and the coverage of it. And the coverage on the news did not hold back on the violence, because obviously they wanted to like evoke sort of
radicalize.
Yeah, they wanted you to be like, all right, we're the good guys, we're doing this, you know. And they really didn't desensitize us to violence, which is why I think it's really interesting that then with the media we were consuming in like the 2010s, they were like, oh no, get rid of that. But it's like, okay, but you can watch like dismembered limbs on the 10 o'clock news or the 5 o'clock news, that's fine. You know, like it's such a crazy time to think back on.
It reminds me, there was a Doctor Who author that came and visited my school, and he was talking about ratings. And he said sci-fi gets away with a lot more because if you use a laser rather than a real gun, it kind of like, it doesn't really have that much effect. And it just reminded me how much dismemberment there is in Star Wars, which they get away with because, you know, it's a laser sword, whereas you wouldn't get away with that if they'd been using a real sword, like them just beheading people.
No, that's very true. That is a very good point. You know, like every kid saw Luke Skywalker get his hand cut off, or Anakin Skywalker get his arm cut off, you know, or Anakin burned to death, you know, like that was...
Dude, that, oh my god, let me say, because we actually went to see Revenge of the Sith in theaters again, like, a few weeks ago when it came back. Holy shit. That scene is gruesome as fuck, and they really, like, zoom the camera in and pan over his whole body. Like, you see all the individual, like, organs blistering and bubbling, and I was like, what? I don't remember this. Like,
also, it makes Obi-Wan look like a real arsehole because he just leaves him to burn to death and also robs him. He like nicks his lightsaber.
You're my brother, Anakin. Yeah, I don't know. I just like, I agree though. It's always been silly to have these ratings boards be like, well, you know, there can be a knife in the scene, but it can't be like in a wound, you know, something like that.
It's so crazy. Like, we still know what happened.
There have been so many cases of this in different countries, like Germany, for example, like with all the, you know, banning of Nazi imagery. Like, the first Wolfenstein game was released in Germany without any mention of Nazis in it, which I still love thinking about. But it's just like Australia, you know, of course, is the biggest culprit for this, and like, there's not allowed to be any mention of drugs or drug use in basically any entertainment released in Australia. So, like, if somebody, like, you know, just, like, lights up, like, a joint or something, that scene is just not in the movie.
It's a lot quicker to watch through Breaking Bad in Australia than it is anywhere else.
Pineapple Express was really short. Tight film. But anyway, yeah, so I think we all kind of agree, like, this is not the only challenge that the Hunger Games kind of underwent, though, because there was, I found out, and I did not remember hearing about this at the time, the racists kind of came out of the woodwork for this one. I did not realize this.
Yes, this is one of the probably not very first examples. The very first examples that I was aware of, but again, as a white person, of course, like, I'm not going to be aware of, like, every time. You know, it probably did happen on a smaller scale or whatever. But, yes, because Rue, the character of Rue, was, they have a black actress playing her in the film. I forget if they explicitly say whether or not she's white in the book.
They actually say in the book that she is black. I actually looked this up.
Oh, amazing. So they were just being racist for no fucking reason. Well, obviously, if she was white in the book and then black in the movie, absolutely zero problem with that. But yeah. Yeah,
so it says Rue and Thresh are described in the book as having dark brown skin. Collins reiterated that they were intended to be African Americans, and she purposefully cast them that way.
But yeah, I can remember the huge backlash to that, and that was, again, the first time I'd really seen that, and I was so confused. Because it doesn't, you know, even if it was a change...
It's like, this character was already black in the book, so, like, again, even if there was a change, like, none of their... Okay, this is one thing that Suzanne Collins said, and I think she's... I actually, like... I assume I like her a lot, obviously. Like, she's definitely, like, you know, got some cool ideas here. But yeah, she made a comment about this where she was like, okay, listen to me. This book is so many hundreds of years in the future past what you understand as societal understandings of race that, like, nobody's race would actually factor into anything that happens in this book. Like, it doesn't matter what race anybody in this book is.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that was kind of the thing. She's like, these characters are black. They were written that way. But even if they weren't, like, what being black means right now doesn't mean the same thing 500 years from now after this dystopian nuclear apocalypse. No,
and that's a good point. And that's the thing. Like, it isn't brought up as a thing in the story, either the books or the movies. So it was such a nothing controversy, and that was my first time of seeing this and thinking, wow, these people actually just don't give a fuck about the Hunger Games. They haven't read it. They don't watch the movies. They just want something to be angry about.
I think some like journalists were maybe trying to, like, they were like looking for that. They were like a fish looking for that angle, looking for that little hook there. But they were like, well, you have all these black children here, and so it really is invoking scenes of the Lord's Resistance Army led by Joseph Kony right now. And so maybe that's bad. So basically they were blaming her. They were saying, like, well, there shouldn't be any black people in this because you're invoking imagery of a real thing that's happening right now to African children. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's a bit insane because, like, yeah, I don't even know where to begin with that because, like, this thing happening in the Hunger Games, it's not glorifying it. It's saying this is also quite bad. You know, generally, the idea killing children is bad. I think and forcing them to fight is bad. So even if it was sort of evoking that imagery, I don't really see that. I'm not connecting the dots here.
Okay, here's the thing. Collins says that she did not have any ethnic background in mind, as the book is written in a time period where hundreds of years have passed, and there would have been a lot of ethnic mixing already. Okay, that's also a good point.
Yep, no, that is a very good point. Also worth mentioning, and because I saw this brought up when people were complaining about Rue being black, in the book, I believe Katniss and Gale are described as having, like, very tan skin, which they do not in the movie. Which
we got to spray tan Jennifer Lawrence. Hold her down.
Yeah. Because there is, and it's interesting that Suzanne Collins says that race was not a factor in her writing, because I believe it's quite consistent that the poorer people in District 12 were, like, darker skinned, and people like Peter, who have it slightly better off, were white. I'm not sure whether she meant, like, a background wise or just they're outside more so they get tanned. I'm not, like, really clear on, super sure on Katniss, whether it was meant to be, like, a personal color or white. So
yeah, I think this was, like, I think it was the second thing, because. And that kind of is how it was, especially back in, like, you know, feudal days or whatever. It's that, like, the lords and ladies were all very pale because they got to stay inside. And basically the tanner, the darker someone's skin was, the more they had been outside and that their families had been outside for generations, etc. So it's like, I think that was probably her intention. Obviously that's, you know, she says, like, okay, I didn't think about it, you know, whatever. But, like, I think that was her intention, was just, like, the paler people are, like, you know, PETA is, like, he's essentially, like, upper middle class, right? But in, like, a situation where, like, upper middle class is still, like, less than 1% of the population.
Yeah.
And he's, like, you know, he's paler because of it. And, like, I do think that, like, Jennifer Lawrence maybe is, like, okay, so actually this leads really nicely into the next thing listed here under the Wikipedia section for controversies. Which was Jennifer Lawrence, because a lot of people were angry that she was not super skinny and pale and frail.
Oh, it pisses me off to no end when people say this. Like, yeah, like, she was, like, for one, like, Katniss wasn't, I mean, she goes through a period of her life when she is starving. She's not, like, she's a hunter. She's eating, like, meat every single day. Like, she isn't starving, and that's because she's working her ass off and putting her name more times in the hat, you know?
All right, Collins pointed to a description in the book which reads, I stand straight, and while I'm thin, I'm strong. The meat and plants from the woods combined with the exertion it takes to get them have given me a healthier body than most of those I see around me. Get fucked.
Yeah, like,
anyway.
Like, literally, like, no, she is not starving. If she was, like, skin and bones, how the hell would she be hunting, you know?
It was also the fact that they were saying this about Katniss, but they're not saying this about Gale and Peter, who are also clearly not very skinny. Big thing. Like, they're both quite well-built guys.
But Gale's insane, especially because, like, he looks like he's hitting the protein shakes, and I mean, unless that's one of the things you can get by putting your name in the hat a few more times, like, I don't know how he's getting that.
They give you coupons for GNC. But like, yeah, it's insane that the like, I mean, this double standard is nothing fucking new or old even, but like, it's just inherently like this sexist commentary about like, well, Jennifer Lawrence's hips are too wide actually for her to be hungry. Her boobs are too big. This was a real thing. People complained that her boobs were too big for her to be starving, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Like, do you not know how boobs operate? You know, I mean, I'm assuming a lot of people who said this probably haven't seen.
I'm gonna go ahead and say a lot of those people did not. I'm gonna go. But like, yeah, it's just I don't know. Anyway, that was like a whole thing going on. Of course, like, these like things alongside the like racism is basically just like, I think this was okay. So this is 2010, right? 2011-ish. This is kind of when this is like the 2010, 2011 is like about when it was kind of solidified that everyone was using social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I think the Hunger Games might be the first one we remember because there might just have been there just really wasn't social media before that. Like, we had discussion forums and stuff like that, like on, you know, individual websites back in the day. And of course, but the thing is that, like, those boards had, like, you know, a total of 3,000 members as opposed to, like, Facebook, right? And I think that's probably why it feels like this was kind of the start of just people deciding to be horrible about everything. Because it certainly wasn't. It's been that way. But, yeah, I don't know. I think it just lined up with that time period. I noticed a lot of things in retrospect, like, changed drastically how we think and talk about them after like the early 2010s, you know what I mean? Just because like everything has to be analyzed through the medium of like social media. I don't know if I'm saying any words right now that makes sense.
No, I think you're dead right. I think that's probably why we see so many things, pieces of media, books, films, television shows, where they have to be perfect right out the gate because the commentary, the critique is so immediate. And I think Hunger Games had a little bit of that, and it just so happened that the first book was absolutely fantastic. But it does mean that everything is getting picked apart. You know, every part of it is being picked apart, usually in the worst faith possible, because on social media, it's like on a forum, for the most part, you'd probably be doing it for like, because you genuinely love this thing and you want to connect with other people who want to talk about it in good faith. Whereas, like, on Twitter or something, like, the currency is attention. And obviously a great way to get attention is negatively, so...
Yeah, you know, it really was like that thing where people were starting to, like, figure out that the more that you are negative about something, the more comments you invite on it, and the more people get involved, and, you know, it's like the exposure, right? Like, it's not just... Because you're right, like, it was weird, I think, back in the day, because I was, like, on... I don't know, were you guys, like, on the internet before social media, like, terminally, like I was?
I shouldn't have been, considering I wasn't 10 yet, but yes, I was.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, yeah, like, I got a laptop, like, one of my dad's old laptops when I was, like, I think 10 years old, I want to say, which was, like, like 2003? So, like, from that point on, I was very terminally online, way before, like, social media existed. And I was on all these forums all the time. I mean... You know, mostly I was on, like, the MuggleNet forums talking about Harry Potter and all that stuff. But, like, the thing was, you remember when there were these things that they had called websites? And you
I missed websites so much.
You go to a website and it would have exclusive information or interactive elements on it that weren't available elsewhere. And then you would interact with them. But, I don't know. I miss those days. I miss StumbleUpon. Shout out to that. To those old days. Right, if you fucking installed StumbleUpon right now and clicked the button, it would take you to one of 9 websites. Like, this just wouldn't be anywhere to go. But yeah, I think the way that we talk about media, and okay, here's a question for you guys: do you think that people's like media literacy has declined since social media, or has it just been like everyone's always been so bad at it, and now we just know?
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah.
I think we've seen... I like to be optimistic and think that we have seen some improvements, but I think the biggest drawback is the fact that everyone fundamentally on social media wants attention. Like, I'm not immune to that. My brain gets happy when number goes up. So it's not necessarily an emphasis on being right. It's more on just saying what people want to hear or what they don't want to hear, and then you get loads of attention.
I think it's best summed up in people be out here just saying shit.
They do, and people... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it's a bit half and half, because you got people that are just saying shit, but then you've also got the fact that social media is like a greater access to information, and people will share their like literary views, which are actually like legitimate, with other people who may not have thought that before.
Yes,
that's true. I mean, like, yeah.
On that subject, I want to give a shout out to because this actually ties in on a more positive note to why I got back into the Hunger Games, and it was because of the TikToker who I can't remember now, so I'm looking her up right now. Let's see. Lucky Lefty. She started doing a series analyzing the Hunger Games very seriously. And these started coming up on my feed, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe it is all that. Maybe I should check out the new book. And I did, and I checked out the old ones again. And if it wasn't for that, like, and I've seen a lot of people say the same, they would not have sort of done a reanalysis of the Hunger Games from present day. So in that regard, it's been great. But as you said, people do be saying shit. And that's very annoying. And when a lot of people start saying an idea, it becomes like almost like that's just the truth, right? Like if enough people say it, it's the truth. So just like this idea of the one that really annoyed me was with the Fallout TV show. Now I personally like it. I understand fans not liking it. That's whatever. But there was this big thing of like they retconned the games. Now I don't think they did, you know?
They specifically actually outlined how they did not. But we don't have to talk about that on here.
No, but just saying, it was repeated so much that they retconned the games. And someone else said, like, oh, in my opinion, they retconned the games. And then it just became, no, they did it. And definitely sort of seeing that with, I think that's the Hunger Games is probably when we started to see that, of like, oh, they race swapped a character. They didn't, but people like this, it gets said enough that like even I was like doubting myself, thinking maybe they did. I wouldn't care if they did, but maybe they did. And I think that's probably what holds back a lot of critique online, is just this idea that like you have to be right all the time, you know? And if not, you have to create the truth.
It's this idea that everything has to be exactly right or has to be exactly wrong, and if it's wrong, you got to tell everyone how wrong it is immediately.
Yes, exactly that.
I don't know. It's just this weird thing. Like, I actually feel like over time, I think the Hunger Games, like anything that involves like, you know, real world like political systems and stuff, has also fallen prey to people like doing some like revisionist work on like what it was about, right? Like, I mean, I've seen before that you know, like even alt-right people are citing themselves as like, oh, we are the poor districts and the Democrats are the capital, you know.
Yes.
It's this thing about like, I just I don't know. It's these real world like this is a, you know, a perfect example of like real world fascism, like the one that like we voted for just now a few months ago, and we like it a lot. And it's just like people see this and they're like, they decide that like, well, no, actually that's the other guys, because I don't like this. And I don't know if I'm even saying words anymore. I'm just kind of like infuriated right now about the current state of our country.
I actually that ties into like another critique I've seen from like American liberals, is that they feel like Suzanne Collins like could be a secret Republican because the Capitol are very like they dress very flamboyantly. I think that's
evil gays.
Yeah, so
of course.
I think that's a very bad faith interpretation of it personally. I do not think for a second she's suggesting, gay culture bad. They dress extravagantly to show the abundance of resources they have, to show like how they only care about aesthetics. That's and so I don't think that the dynamic in the Hunger Games in its setting is Republican versus Democrat on either side. I think it's rich versus poor, and obviously, I mean, in my opinion, Republicans are the worst offenders for being rich assholes who oppress everyone. There's a lot. I know. I'm not saying. I am not for a second suggesting both sides bad here. Obviously Republicans abysmal, awful, terrible. But I'm saying that almost. I personally don't really see that being. I mean, obviously Suzanne Collins could have actually said like, no, it is that. But as far as I know, she hasn't. And my reading of it is that it's not necessarily just based on American party politics. It sort of transcends that and is more about just fascism versus poor people and pitting poor people against each other, which is something that we definitely see Republicans do. So I do think if there's any comparison to be made, it's Capitol Republicans, because they are very good at getting the working class to be angry at each other instead of actually do anything effective and see each other as the enemy rather than coming together and overthrowing the person screwing them all over.
I do think that the Hunger Games also came kind of ahead of its time of like, because there is a very real like eat the rich mentality now. Like,
yeah, I saw it when the recent Met Gala got a lot of, well, it wasn't, the recent one happened a few days ago, but the one that happened like the year before like got a lot of hate because of just like people are just getting sick of it now. They see like celebrities like flashing these $1 million dresses, and meanwhile there's like wars going on like all everywhere and people are suffering, and it reminded me a lot of the Capitol.
Yeah, I was actually looking at this critique here on from a writer, Miranda Campbell, about like how the Hunger Games looks 10 years later, and she brings up a good point about like, think about how like the people feel now. We have films like Parasite and The Menu and Triangle of Sadness, and we are learning, we are reinforcing through our media a little bit like that we should eat the rich, but at the same time, like we just went through like, COVID lockdown, and we watched a bunch of celebrities like singing songs from their multi-million-dollar mansions while people were losing their lives and homes.
Yeah.
And like we saw this kind of thing happen in real life, and like the like I've said this a lot, but like COVID just kind of like exposed the existing cracks in the system that we like live on. And it's like we all are like hyper aware now of how shitty everything is. Whereas I think people just weren't as aware of it before. Not that nobody knew, but like, there was this weird thing going on though, where it's like, everybody seems to agree that like, yeah, we gotta eat the rich, but then at the same time, it's like, well, like if I want money also, so if I'm rich, I don't want you to eat me. And it's like, I don't know, there's this weird disconnect where people are like, I think people have just succumbed to the propaganda that like eventually, oh my God, it's the Capitol. Cause like that's the thing that the Capitol is selling, right? Is like, if you work hard enough and you win by X, Y, and Z by winning this game, you will be rich too. You will be like us. And then you can look down on the peasants that like are like how you are now. Right.
No.
That's exactly the fucking pull yourself up by your bootstraps, like Reaganomics bullshit that like the people like alt-right grifters are spitting right now, Yes,
exactly that. And that is why, and this is, again, another thing that went over my head as a kid, is why the Capitol decided to, because in the first games, they introduced that rule temporarily where there can be two victors if they're from the same district. And that's obviously to drum up more excitement. And then at the end, they change it and say there can only be one victor. Now, as a kid, I didn't really understand like why they did that. I don't know, sorry, why, because then they made the decision to go out together instead. And as a kid, I thought like, oh, why can't they just talk and like one of them just decides to do it? Kind of a bit silly that they both go. And also a bit silly that the Capitol gets so upset about that. Why not just let them both die? But then, now it's because of what that represents. It represents solidarity, whereas the Capitol is doing everything, every aspect of the control they have of the districts is to stop any sort of solidarity ever. The districts themselves being one of them, like you root for your team. You don't root for the team next door. You root for your team. And within the districts, you only care about your family. You only care about, you hope that it's not your kid going up there. You probably breathe a sigh of relief when it's someone else's kid being sent up there.
You're right though, because it's like, man, it's also this whole thing of like the victors are like given, or President Snow says this, and he actually says it straight, like flat out to Katniss, because like, which is great for Netflix, but like he just says straight out, like, look, at the beginning of the second book, he tells her, everyone who watched that, you guys both take those berries, thinks that it was done in defiance of the Capitol to be a fuck you, a final fuck you, and say, I won, solidarity. And he's like, you cannot have said that, because if you said that, then I have to kill you. But I need you to convince everybody that you are a stupid little girl in love and you had no idea what you were doing.
Yes, exactly
so
that. They need to make it so it just wasn't about solidarity. It was dumb love, because that's something they can sell in a reality TV show narrative.
Yeah, and I think in the movie they actually, I don't remember if they do this in the book, but in the movie there's a part where fucking what's his name? I can't believe
Peter?
A Bumblebee man? What's his name?
Is that Peter?
No, the guy, the Hunger Games master man.
Oh.
The second one.
Playarch or something like that?
Treyarch, was it Treyarch Studios?
It's Plutarch Heavensby.
Plutarch Heavensby. I said Bumblebee. Plutarch Heavensby. In the movie, though, he says, like, we can't kill her, man. You have to, like, the only thing you can do with her now is make the people think that she's one of us. You have to make everyone else think that she won. Because she won, she is so disaffected about their struggle or about where she came from. Like, the only thing you can do anymore is, it's not about, like, getting rid of her. It's about, like, killing the idea behind her. And, like, I think that they do a really good job in these books and these movies of, like, laying down, like, this real fucking warfare tactics that have been true since, like, medieval times, right? It's always, at some level, every war is always about, like, the rich versus the poor. Like, there is something in there, something if you dig down deep enough, whether it be a religious war or, like, a war over land or something like that. And it's always, like, a rich person spearheading a war and throwing poor people into it like cannon fodder. But, like, yeah, I don't know. I think that it's almost like the exaggerated and, like, not subtle nature of the Hunger Games, I think, is, like, super needed for, like, what they're trying to do. I think if it was, like, too subtle about what the themes and, like, motivations were, it would just be a victim of, like, reinterpretation by fucking Nazis at this point.
And some of them still try. So, it's apparently not subtle enough. It's like whenever I critique anything for being like, oh, you're getting a bit on the nose now. Like with The Boys, for example, I think, oh, you're laying it on a bit thick now. But apparently not thick enough, so.
More thickness, please. Oh shit! I did not realize they were already getting a movie together for the Sunrise and the Reaping.
They started announcing the cast members a few weeks
they
ago.
cast Jesse Plemons as Treyarch. No, as Treyarch.
Treyarch.
Which I think is like the perfect casting.
That's a really good casting.
The casting has been really good for this, as it was in my opinion for Songbirds and Snakes.
Yeah, like, can I give a shout out to that guy? Tom Blythe is his name.
Fantastic
Excellent actor. He really, really, like, stole the scenes he was in, like, and I think he did a good job of, like, selling what I think is a hard story to sell of, like, because we've all seen President Snow and we've seen how shitty he is in the future. It's like, I think when I wrote a review of this movie, actually, and I think my, like, kind of byline or through line for it was, like, your protagonist doesn't have to be doesn't have to be good or noble as long as they're compelling.
Yes.
Like, and I think that, like, this movie kind of nailed that, because it's like, the whole time, I'm really not even on Rachel Ziegler, her character, Lucy, like, I'm really not even on her team the whole time either, but, like, I'm compelled by both of these characters, like, and, like, their interactions with each other, and I think they did a good job of, like, selling the fact that, like, these two people, like, trauma bond over the course of a week and then think they're in love, and then the second they're not in danger anymore realize they want to kill each other. But, like, I don't know, I really I'm interested in, like, this new book about it's about, I almost said it's about Woody Harrelson. It's about a young Woody Harrelson, and it's like his time when he's in the games. It looks like they did cast him. It's a guy named Joseph Zada.
Yes.
I've not heard of him.
I don't think I know him, but yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes, and yeah, I don't know. I'm down for more of this. I'm actually really shocked. One thing I do want to talk about is like how it is today, right? It's 2025. It's been 15 years since the first book released. And I think, like, a lot of people, when the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, like, when the trailer got announced and people were sharing it around, I saw a lot of, like, are they really going to try to do more Hunger Games now? Like, are people into that? And, like, I mean, I have to admit, that was kind of a nagging thought for me, too. I was like, are people going to show up for this series still? Because it's been, like, a minute. And, I mean, they did. I think that, like, it overperformed, really. And I think that was just, like, maybe symptomatic of, like, everyone's like, oh yeah, Hunger Games was there when I was in, like, high school or college or whatever, telling me to eat the rich, and now I'm an adult and I want to eat the rich.
No, that's so true.
You know?
Oh, sorry, you're probably going to hear my cat purring. I'm very sorry about that, but
that's okay.
She's passionate about the Hunger Games.
Oh, I did have to put Ellie in cat jail because she was attacking the computer. Again, cat jail is just my room with the door closed.
Chocolatka was in cat jail, but she was screaming to come back in, so she's here now.
Oh. But yeah, like, I think the effects of this thing, like, have been, like, I think you said this earlier, Ree, but, like, President Snow as, like, a villain, and, like, the Capitol and all that, like, the evils that they commit are so atrocious and exaggerated that it almost just is like, isn't this too much? But, like, it almost is nothing compared to, like, the real things, like, the government is doing now.
No, I completely agree. When I was rewatching the movies last year for Songbirds and Snakes, I was like, this is actually more subtle than real life. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I want to say, and, you know, one other thing that I think, like, I also liked, and when I read the books, I actually connected with PETA as a character a lot. Just because, like, he doesn't seem to be, like, very ready for battle, much like me. But but also, like, you know, the whole thing about he's like a big soft boy, right? He's, like, not equipped for this hardened life that Katniss is living, which is also like me, which is why I'm doing a podcast right now and not farming.
You need Jennifer Lawrence to save you.
Peter's, like, biggest, like, strength, which I actually don't think the film translates very well. Like, it tries to, but I think Josh Hutcherson just, like, for me, doesn't have the charisma that Peter in the books seems to have. Peter in the books has, like magic. He's, like, put all of his levels into charisma. Because there's this
100%.
In the second book, he's so convincing when he tells what's his face, the
Stanley Tucci.
Yes, when he tells Stanley Tucci that
the Tooch
that Jennifer Lawrence is pregnant, he's so convincing that Katniss herself is questioning whether she might actually be pregnant without knowing.
Oh, that's
it's. Sorry.
So yeah, Peter in general is his strength is his charisma. His strength is the fact that he is not strong. If that makes sense, like he is.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
He is strong enough to know his limits, and to have optimism, which again is why Katniss is drawn to that, because she appreciates that. She appreciates someone who's seen all the horrors and can do something that she can't. You know, she can fight the physical battles for them. he is strong enough to not lose hope somehow. So yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to, because one thing, this hasn't come up yet, which I guess is probably evident of how we all feel about it, but like the love triangle aspect of this book is interesting because it feels so much more one-sided than I think other love triangles I've seen before.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really feel like Gale really has like a chance in this fight from the very beginning.
She consistently has no interest in him. It was like I fell for the love triangle bullshit when I was a kid, and for some reason was Team Gale. To my great shame. And
was it Liam Hemsworth related?
It wasn't even because personally, like, no offense to the guy, I don't find him like too hot. I'm sure he's really devastated by that. But
Liam, don't at me.
But yeah, like I fell for that marketing. I was reading the book saying, oh, I hope she gets with Gale. But then, then I rewatched it and I was like, nah, I'm Team Peter all the way. I love that soft little baby boy,
Yeah. Plus Gale is the Prim Reaper, so...
The Prim Reaper
that
is
good.
The
fun. I love the
fuck that.
I love this whole idea that he like really fucking wanted to kill Prim. I think that's the funniest thing.
Yeah, he did the whole thing. Yeah, he wanted to get her out of the way. I think like Gale also is an interesting character because he's like, and I think that maybe the fact that he just doesn't get a lot of screen time in the first two books is like the problem with it. But like he is like still an interesting character because it's like, this is like the hardened version of like what PETA could have become if he was, in a different situation. But like the thing is that PETA does go through that like fucking like hardship and terror and everything, and he comes out the other end not quite as soft, but like not quite as like cold. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He doesn't come out with the same cold, calculated view of the world that Katniss has. Because, I mean, even if you remember a very, very major scene at the end of, which I love and I think is a great, shows that Suzanne Collins has a great understanding of her own characters. Like, at the end, all the living victors are, like, sitting around the table and they're like, should we do another Hunger Games with the Capitol's children? And PETA's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But, like, Katniss is just like, yes. And it's just like... I think it does like show the difference in their characters a lot, because it's like you see that PETA went through this entire thing and he's effectively the same guy he was, like, obviously not as naive and innocent, but like he hasn't become the Capitol the way that like you can see Katniss like deciding she is going to be, like without with it's the feelings of anger and vengeance from losing Prim, of course.
I will actually
make her that way.
Mildly push back against that because I have like a slightly different reading to her agreeing to the games. I think there is probably part of her that does want to do the games, but then I think she changes her mind as the conversation goes on and as Peter very vocally objects. Mm-hmm. I personally think that she then realizes how horrible it is and realizes what kind of person President Coin is for even proposing this in the first place. Like, she's not going to be the one to end this cycle. She's going to be the one to continue it and just be the head. So she agrees to it to get Coin's trust, so then she can kill Coin. I think that's the moment when she's like, I need to take her out, personally.
I think that's definitely a fair interpretation. I also, that does make me realize, like, I guess I always assumed that when she accepts this thing, she's not... I guess I just always assumed she was planning on actually killing President Snow because that's all she cared about. And then when she got out there and saw, like, President Coin, like, that was when she changed her mind and, like, in that moment to fire the arrow at her instead. Although, I don't know, it could certainly have been that she decided that long ago and, that's why she agreed to the games. I don't know if it says in the book anywhere from her,
I would need to reread it for sure. I think originally I thought it was a spur of the moment thing. When I revisited the movies, I haven't revisited the books yet, I came away with the idea of like, oh, I actually think... Because she exchanges a look with... Because Haymitch is the deciding vote. And she just sort of... He seems to be like he's going to vote against it. But then she exchanges a look with him, almost like, trust me on this. And he nods and then says he stands with Katniss. So
right.
I think maybe that's when she... That's, again, my read of it. I'd need to read the book again to say that definitively.
No, that's totally fair. I think either way you look at it, like that moment that, like, she says like, I'm gonna do the games again, it's not like it's unbelievable. It's like something that she could, genuinely be feeling.
Yeah. No.
At that moment, but like something that PETA would just fucking never do.
I think I also need to read the books again, because I've been trying to think of something that Gale did in the whole trilogy besides dropping a bomb on Prim.
Killing
Like, I can't actually think of a single moment where they were like, oh god, thank god Gale was here.
So one thing that I remember from the movie, and I don't know that this happened exactly the same in the book, is that in the third one, in Mockingjay, when they go back to District 12, and like, he's like, she needs to see this, like she needs to see what they did to the people here. And they go back to District 12 and they look at like the ruins of it. Like, he starts talking about like fucking how his family's dead and everything. And she kisses him and he's like, I noticed that, like, the only time that you like feel like you're affectionate towards me is when I'm hurting. Like, which is it was an interesting observation for him to make, but it is also true. Like, to your point from earlier, like, it doesn't seem like Katniss is really like ever like in love with Gale, but she does seem to be like, every time that he is like wounded or hurting, she's like, I gotta kiss him to make it better.
I think it's because I know there's a reading of Katniss that she's autistic, and I think there's actually like a lot of merit to that theory.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I think there's also a degree of like, if she's not autistic, she's very, very traumatized and doesn't process like emotions like the same as everyone else because of it. So a lot of the time she's kind of putting on a performance, and I think when she realizes that Gale likes her like that, she kind of feels like she owes him to play along with it.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so that's why she kisses him whenever he's hurt physically or emotionally. Because it's like, oh, well, that's my duty, right? Like, he's always looked out for me, so I've got to play this role. That's kind of how I viewed it. I don't think she ever had feelings for him.
Yeah, she's very transactional, like, even in the first book. Like, anything... I remember, like, bits where Peter's being nice to her and she's questioning why he's being nice. Like, she can't believe people would just be nice.
Yes.
And she has PTSD going into the games as well, because she constantly has flashbacks of her mother treating burn victims from the mines. And I remember it keeps going back to that, and she's like terrified of it. Like, she has PTSD already.
Yeah, and her dad died in like a mine collapse, right?
Yeah,
is the thing. Like, yeah, I think it's just the entire thing. Like, it's almost interesting because like normally in books where like you see a character has developed PTSD, you can like draw like a specific example, but it's almost like her entire life has been trauma, I guess.
Yeah, no, fully, and I don't think she even realizes to what extent,
Yeah.
And it's every aspect of her upbringing, all of her entire environment has just been trauma. And it's actually what Jess said about everything being transactional. You see that in a character who's completely cut from the films, and that's I think it's the mayor's daughter, who she is like childhood friends with. Now she sat next.
Oh yeah.
She sat next to that girl like every single day in class. They talked all the time. And then when goes through the reaping, when she volunteers, she comes to say goodbye to her, and she kisses her on the cheek and is crying. And she was like, oh, I didn't know she was my friend. It's nice that she was my friend, actually. And it's like, girl, she was sick. She was spending all her time with you. Like, you used to hang out with her every single day, and you didn't realize that you were both friends, Yeah, so she doesn't do sort of actual connections very well.
That's interesting that you mentioned I kind of, now that you've said that, I kind of feel like I'm on board she was like autistic train, or somewhere on that spectrum, but... Yeah, I don't know. I always found that her character very interesting, and like, it mostly just because like I think generally your hero is somebody who's more optimistic, I guess, or hopeful, right? Especially for stuff for young readers. But like, there's again, I'm sorry to keep going back to this, but like. Of course, like, Harry Potter is somebody who is also, like, traumatized from growing up in a fucking abusive, toxic household. But he's also, like, a pretty, like, hopeful and, like, trusting person, frankly. Overall, like, he makes friends and he likes them, and he doesn't have problems believing they're his friends. But, like, it's interesting seeing a character like this instead, who is, like, I'm like ice cold to the rest of the world, and really it's like PETA who is like the one who is, it's the kind of the burden is on him to like instill any sense of hope in the readers, in the audience, that like any of this is gonna go okay.
Yes, exactly. Like he is the optimism, and I think she wants to be optimistic, but she sees it like as a weakness. So she doesn't allow herself to be, but at the same time, like, and this is why she's an unreliable narrator for her own emotions, because everything she does says that she values Peter. The fact that she says to Haymitch, like, if you can save anyone in the second games, you know, save him. And she says that knowing she's going to leave her family without anyone to care for them, you know, apart from Gale.
You know, I think she even says in the book, well, like when she's chosen for when the second game happens, like, and they announce like it's going to be previous victors, of course they know she's going to go. And so I think her immediate thought is accepting her own impending death. Like she already realizes that she's going to die. And because I think the back of her mind, it's like, well, you know, if it's me and PETA in there, like, obviously I wouldn't kill him. And like, there's just nothing I'm going to be able to do to get out of it this time. Like, I don't really know. I don't know. But I know we're like running up on time again for fucking 2 episodes of this. But like, I always thought it was interesting that like Plutarch, Heaven's Bumblebee, and all of his friends, and Haymitch and all them were like, when they did their breakout plan at the end of the second book, like they don't like let her know anything about it, and in fact go very, very far to make sure she never hears about it.
Yeah, it's because they don't trust her, because they know I think I can't remember what the reason was, but they didn't trust her to like I think
put on a performance.
Yeah,
basically
like, that was it.
Yeah, because like they need people to like look like they're really like, you know, gonna die any second, and act that way too. And like, I don't know, I always felt that was like interesting, but it's also like believable. It doesn't feel like as much of like a Deus Ex Machina, you know, once you like look at it like from a whole perspective. It's like, okay, yeah, I see like why they wouldn't want to tell her. Like she would, considering how she like reacts to all situations, there's no way that like would have been like a believable thing. Like I don't think she even gets through like one interview believably with the like fucking with the Tooch.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't. She is a child who acts on impulse, and I say that very endearingly. That's what I love about her.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's the reason why I've always preferred her like over any other like YA character, is because like I always go back to Clary when from the Mortal Instruments series when I talk about it, but I cannot stand it in YA literature when they've got this like main character who she's just stupid, like she just runs off into danger and doesn't listen to anyone, and it all just happens to work out well in the end. Whereas with Katniss, you see,
well, it's because she's got 2 boys orbiting her trying to keep her alive.
Whereas like with Katniss, she always second guesses like literally everything, and then when she does like work on like instincts or something, like something always goes wrong, but then it goes right, but then she also has to deal with like some of the consequences of stuff going wrong.
That's a good point, in that like there are consequences to not just hers but like everybody's actions, right? It's like even we talked about this, like PETA fucking loses his leg, and then of course like the action of, you know, her escaping the arena, here's the trade-off, like she's left PETA behind to be tortured and brainwashed.
Yeah.
Like there are consequences to every good thing that happens. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good point though, comparing her to like, did either of you read Divergent?
No, I've seen clips of the film.
Yeah, for like cultural osmosis, I know of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the girl who can feel more than one emotion, and so she's like the avatar of emotions. She can like go into the avatar state and be like sad and happy at the same time. But like I fucking read 2 of these books, so get off my back. But like a good example, I think, of a character that is maybe not so well written in this dystopian YA like trend that, but like, no, obviously the Hunger Games didn't start the idea, but it certainly like blossomed it into like its own genre. And like Triss, the character from Divergent, is very much like Jess, like what you described about like Clary from the Mortal Instruments, where she's just always doing stupid stuff and running off into do like some dangerous like boneheaded thing, and it just happens to like work out for her and everybody else around her because of her like either it's like one of the two guys that's really hot. I think they're both wearing leather jackets, but like or it's like just her own dumb luck, because it's like she's like, actually I can also be selfless, but I can also be smart if I need to be, and they're like, whoa, back the fuck off.
And they're always like trying to work above their like skill set as well, whereas Katniss is so very aware of what her like strengths and weaknesses are.
It's funny because that's a great point too, because she's very much like, okay, and you know what, I think this is almost encouraging for young readers, for like teen readers too, because it's like she's like, I'm not good at a lot of things, here's what I'm good at. I'm good at hunting, I'm good at tracking, I'm good at archery, and I'm not so good at like doing almost anything else, but that's okay. You know, I've been getting by on those skills, and you know, that's what it is. And she's also really, really aware of like, you know, her. I think even in the Hunger Games, when they do they do like a display for the like judges, you know, before they do the thing. And like even during that point, I remember her being like, okay, here's exactly what I have the ability to do. I will shoot this target this way, and then she goes like 1, 2, 3. All right, I've done it. And I know how to do this. It's like, it's very methodical, right? And then like, it's only when she like improvises when she's in that room, when she like shoots like the fucking like apple out of that pig's mouth or whatever, like right above the guy's head. It's like, it's like when she acts on impulse, which she almost never does. Like that, like, you know, thing like she starts to like make some waves and everything.
Oh, but that does come to bite her in the ass, because don't they intentionally score her higher so she's like more of a risk? So like people come after her, and I think it's because they don't like her because she's a hunter. She doesn't pretend that the games are anything other than what they are, like a hunt and a fight to the death. Whereas the Capitol, as we see in Songbirds and Snakes, they want to go to great lengths to make it entertainment. They want people to play along. They want people to come up with narratives and all that. They want to be entertaining, whereas she's not going to be entertaining, you know. It's like, I mean, literally when she's like playing the games well and surviving, they literally set a fire because she's too boring to watch that way, you know. Like, it's boring.
It's basically like, it's like if the Hunger Games themselves are like real dogfights, then like what the Capitol wants you to look at your TV and see is like Pokemon.
No, exactly that. That's so right. And they hate that because she's pulling back the curtain and saying like, no, this is survival, this is brutal, this isn't entertainment. And I think that's from the start. That's why they don't like her. Yeah. Is that she will not play.
I also appreciate that like Suzanne Collins went to the trouble of like having some people from the Capitol be like, you know, characters in the books a little bit, to try to like get you to understand that they are also obviously not in the same way, but they're also victims of this like fascist regime, you know, like they have also been brainwashed into believing that like human life basically doesn't mean anything. Like there is also it's not like they're all evil, right? They're not all sitting there cackling about how children are dying in front of them. And in fact, I think there's a thing in the books about how you have to watch the games, right? In the Capitol, everybody has to watch the games.
I forget if it's like mandatory. I know it's mandatory in the districts.
The districts, yeah.
I think in the Capitol, they might just watch it because they like it, and because I think that's like a plot point in Songbirds and Snakes, that they want more people in the Capitol to be watching it. So I'm not sure if it's mandatory there, but like
I'm not sure. They may have.
Yeah, like morality is so warped there, and so even like the well-meaning people, like. Well,
I think the idea is that people are basically like so desensitized because the Capitol people are watching this, and they're like, what they've been trained to think when they see the games taking place is, thank God that's not me or my children in there, because woof. Like, without, like, it's not like they're saying, like, we need to get rid of the regime that created this fucking horrible thing. It's just, thank God that's not me.
Yeah, and like, all they can, like, none of them like it. If any of them could wish away the Capitol and the games, of course they would. But they've created this perfect system where if you even attempted to do that, you are leaving your children to not have a parent anymore. You're leaving your parents to suffer. You know, like, there's always going to be a consequence which only you feel. And then if you're a neighbor with someone and someone rebels and you see that entire family get put to death, you're going to think, oh, fuck, I'm not doing that. You know, like, that sucker can be the one who does that, not me. You know, that there is zero incentive for any solidarity. There's zero incentive for sharing stuff with people. Like, why would you do that? Like, to get food, you have to put your name up for the games even more. So, like, if you get that, why would you share it with your neighbor, you know? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that's one thing that I can't believe we didn't mention. Like, I think one of the most, like, shocking things, and I've seen this as, like, a point in, like, you know, like, reactions of people, like, watching this movie the first time, when they're, like, they learn about the fact that you can, like, put your name in the lottery more times to get more food, which is basically enough food to keep your family sustained. It's, like, the horrifying nature of that, I think, is, like, the roulette nature of it, because it's, like, it just even further trivializes your life as a thing that you're just, like, willing to, like, put into, like, a, you know, like a roulette machine, essentially, to be like, I can have enough food to, like, feed my family by upping the chances that, like, my family is going to get killed.
It also creates more division within the capital, the districts themselves, because I can remember, I think, like, in the book, the mayor's daughter comments in front of Katniss and Gale that she's worried about being picked, and Gale is like, well, your name's in there once, mine's in there like 50 times, you know? So Gale has no sympathy for any of the people who have, like, only have their name in once. He's got his name in there so many times that it kind of creates this, like, within, like, the richest person in the district is still being mistreated, but, like, the poorest don't feel any solidarity with the richest there, you know? So they're angry at the people in front of them, not the capital, which is miles away from them.
In a weird way, I guess now I'm realizing, like, Gale and his character and his, like, complete, like, shut off from, you know, being able to care about things, or being able to be compassionate, rather, is, like, I think that Gale really is the end result of 75 years under fascism, basically. Like, this is kind of what you will turn people into. Like, they will just
they will kill your sister.
They will kill your sister. Your boyfriend will kill your sister accidentally with a bomb. But, like, yeah, it's really, like, the idea that, like, Gale, like, exhibits this cruelty that is, like, similar to the Capitol, right? The idea that he creates a bomb that, like, goes off twice after it attracts doctors and nurses in on the battlefield, and then kills them too, so they can't keep healing other people. And it's almost like what the end goal of fascism is to, like, make all the people, like, that it is oppressing like that. It's just, I don't know. It's really fucking, like, I don't know. I guess maybe we should just wind down, but by saying, like, it's very prescient to, like, what like life feels like right now to, I think, most of us. If you're part of, like, most groups of people, you are pretty terrified right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess, like, my finishing point with Hunger Games and what I took away from, like, the resurgence of popularity, and especially with Songbirds and Snakes, and this is the last thing I'll bring up about it, is it's interesting that the thing that the reason, like, Lucy Gray Baird as a character represents something that cannot exist in the future the Capitol's trying to create. She doesn't see herself as belonging to District 12. She sees herself as just a person, you know? She sees herself as someone who wants to just bring joy to everyone, who wants to perform for everyone, you know? She doesn't see a difference. And this is her strength and her weakness, because she doesn't see a difference between someone who lives in the capital and someone who lives in the district. She thinks that, you know, everyone's got the capacity for good. And that has to get that snuffed out. Like, there's no way she could have lived in that world. They had to make everyone fit into a box. And what I really take away from the Hunger Games and what ties into what's happening now around the world is, like, just the importance of solidarity, like, not trying to, always looking out for the people less vulnerable than you, always, I guess, like, not, you know, it's important that we're proud of where we come, and we, like, it's so cheesy to say, like, our differences make us better and stronger, but they do, like, I don't care if it's cheesy. I think in this time we could do with some cheesy wokeness. So, you know.
Yeah. It sounds like this. Well, it sounds like you're trying to insert DEI into this podcast.
I am. I'm sorry. That's actually been my mission the whole time.
Speaking of which, like Hunger Games was also the first ever YA book I read where the main character generally isn't like a supermodel, because
yes,
I was reading the Evermore series at the time, and the protagonist of that is just this like gorgeous like lady who you know, like all YA protagonists doesn't think she's beautiful, but then everybody like thinks she's really fit. And then there's this bit where she gets all depressed and she loses her immortality powers, and she gets like acne on her chin and everything, and her hair grows greasy, and she's like crying for all the book about how ugly she is. And like as a teenager reading that with acne at the time, she chose too many renegade options. Yeah, well, as a teenager at the time reading that with acne, I was like, well, cheers for that, thanks author. It's like as the target audience as well, who mostly will have acne. And then like going to Katniss, who is not pretty, and she's described by everybody as not being pretty. Even Peter, who's a love interest, when he goes through that torture and she sees him again, he can't believe that he was ever romantically interested in her, because he's like, well, she's not that good looking, is she? But like, yeah, that just really had an effect on me, really, just because, yeah,
I can see that. I don't know, like, you're correct, because I feel like especially like female protagonists have such a thing in YA novels where it's like, oh, you know, like I'm thin, but I'm not skinny, and also my boobs are big, but not too big, and my butt is pretty tight, but not too tight, and also I'm just like every other girl.
And whenever she goes through trauma, she gets skinnier.
I don't know. I think that one thing I did not mention. Sorry, I saw the Gina Davis Institute. Had a study conducted in 2016 of across the world of all female archers, and over 50% of them said that they started archery because of the Hunger Games.
Oh, that's so lovely. I really like that, actually.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. And by the way, I think I also noted that the movie Brave came out the same year as the Hunger Games, which probably also helped with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is I think Katniss is a cool character who is definitely not like the other girls.
Yeah.
I think she's just not like anyone. It's not like she doesn't. That's one thing. She doesn't look down on other female characters. Like she's friends with a very, from what I remember, like a very feminine girl in The Mayor's Daughter, who I wish I could remember the name of because I really liked her character in the books.
Yeah.
And you know her.
And then she also she has a lot of sympathy for. Sorry, go.
I think you're about to say the same thing I was going to say, where she has sympathy for even the I can't remember what they're called again. You know the people.
Effie. Oh, in the Effie and her makeup team or whatever.
No, I was going to say Glimmer from the. What are they called? The Careers, because Glimmer is like beautiful, but the Capitol do the thing they do with the winners, where they basically sexualize her like to a T. Like she's wearing this like see-through dress, and I'm pretty sure Katniss is like very sympathetic towards that.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, and I feel like it might just be like, you know what? I don't know. It's good to have like a female character that isn't like putting down the other female characters, especially for young readers. That'd be nice. But it's also like, I feel like it's also rare to get a female character that is like not so self-obsessed. You know, it's like in these YA books. I mean, because I just feel like the characters, like I talk about like Divergent, like the Mortal Instruments. It's like, they're very like self-obsessed people, and like the world kind of revolves around them. And like I don't know, like I think Katniss is like saving grace of like stopping her from being that is like her sister, right? Like everything she does is about her sister, no matter like how good or how bad it is that she's doing. Like, and I think that really like brings the character to a place of like relatability. So anyway, I guess my final thoughts, I really like all these books. Movies are great. Good adaptations, go see them, and pick up a bow and arrow from Walmart when you get a chance.
Why not?
Can you buy those?
Yeah, why would you not be able to? You can buy fucking shotguns there.
I don't know. I thought maybe there'd be like some weird thing with.
I love this idea you have of America, where like we can just have two shotguns on our hips at all times and go into like a Wendy's, but like we can't carry around a bow and arrow.
I thought it'd be like how it is over here, where you can buy certain types of knives, but then if the knife is like too knife looking, you can't buy it in case you do stab someone.
You definitely can't bring a sword into like public places here. I do know about that.
Yeah, that's weird because can't you bring like guns into public places?
Oh yeah, they encourage it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not in charge of the laws here. Okay, get off my fucking.
Can
back.
you bring a bow and arrow into a public place?
I have not tried yet, but I'll check it out. If there's another episode of this podcast, then it turns out you can. But if there's not, I'm in jail.
Use your one call to film the next episode.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for joining me. I feel like we almost only barely talked about the Hunger Games, but also I feel like this is like one of the best discussions I've had in a long time. So,
is it a breath of fresh air after speaking about ACOTAR?
Oh God. Okay, well, yeah, let's close out. So, Jess, where can people find you?
You can find me in the UK.
But don't.
It's a small country. Just walk around. You'll find it.
Yeah. I'm still at Game Luster, so you can find some stuff I do there. And yeah, I've been streaming Hitman, but not recently. So if you want to watch Hitman, the first Let's Play is up on YouTube.
Yeah, GameLuster.com, and also GameBusters podcast. We're doing video game movie hell. We're watching every video game movie ever made in order. We are like 30 movies deep.
Yeah, speaking of Hitman, we've just done Hitman.
Yeah, that one's up right now. Go check that out. So that's GameBustersPod.com. And Ree, you've been up to a lot of fancy things since I've last seen you. What are you up to now?
I work for The Gamer, and recently
TheGamer.com is a website. There's not like a man called The Gamer.
I should probably specify that. I mean, maybe our branding is that good that we are The Gamers. But no, the most recent thing is that I sort of did a multi-article deep dive into what the hell's going on at BioWare, because I'm a really, really big fan of Dragon
I've never heard you talk about them before.
You BioWare again?
I mean, they were great, when they existed. No offense, there's some fantastic people looking at BioWare still. Anyway, if you want to see me yap about Dragon Age, I am at @re_Bevan. If you want like something resembling something professional, I'm on Blue Sky at @re_the_witch, or one word.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And yeah, we'll probably have more of these in the future. I just kind of wanted to feel out like what the format of these is going to be, and like, of course, like I said, maybe we'll do a Patreon one day. We're getting a lot more listens. By the way, thank everyone for listening to the main podcast as well. We're like I'm overjoyed seeing like we're getting like hundreds of like listens every week now. It's fucking crazy. So I really appreciate everybody listening, and recommend it to your friends, even if they don't like or care about A Court of Thorns and Roses, because when we started this, we didn't either. They could become like us.
I think you love it.
I love Sarah. I love Sarah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. And we have to say our for our main show, the outro is we say keep on trucking and support your local bookstores. So what do you think we should do for an outro for this for Y.A.pocalypse?
We're not bros. I think it needs to be a bit more feminine.
True.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's something like I'll let you defer to you guys then. Like, what's something more feminine we could do?
I mean, personally, when I say goodbye, I kind of awkwardly say bye, 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 bye. As I try to leave the situation. So, but I don't think that makes for great listening.
We could say no worries if not.
Yes, absolutely. Hit like and subscribe, but no worries if not.
Okay, that's gonna work.